Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome Ludvig Åberg to the interview room. Ludvig, welcome to your first Masters and your first major. This time last year, you were still in college, but have since had an impressive rise to the professional ranks in a very short period of time. What are your first impressions of Augusta National and the Masters tournament?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a pleasure to be here. I think, Augusta National speaks for itself. It's an unbelievable property, and I'm very, very fortunate to be a part of it. It's a golf course I love, and it's a golf course that I've watched for such a long time, and I am very, very privileged to be here.
Great. All right, we're going to open it up to some questions which we welcome in English or in Swedish. Daniel?
This one's going to be in English. You're the highest ranked debutante, second highest, behind only Wyndham Clark. So how do you balance, most guys, their first Masters, they're trying to take everything in, they're trying to soak in the experience, but you're in a unique position where I'm sure you believe you can win this tournament. So how are you balancing those two things this week?
Yeah, it's a tricky balance because obviously I'm feeling all the first-time things that everyone's feeling, but I'm also, trying to be okay with all those things coming at me at the same time, because I think once you start fighting it, once you start trying to push it away, I think that's when it becomes tricky. So I guess all I'm trying to do is just embrace all the nerves and all the excitement that I feel, and at the same time know my capabilities and know my qualities, and know that that's probably going to be good enough to compete. I can't make any promises, but I'll definitely make sure that I'm coming Thursday. I'll be prepared as I can.
Michael?
Kind of as a follow-up to Dan's question, but where was the first place you went on the property when you got here, Ludvig? Where were you most excited to see? Have you got a big shopping list and merch that you need to go and buy for people?
A big shopping list?
Yeah, in the merch centre, have you been asked to buy lots of stuff for lots of people?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So
would you take that again?
So merchandise, hats and so on. Has anyone asked you to buy anything? I know the debutants.
Yes, I've had multiple friends text me and ask me to get some stuff. I'm trying to get all that done before the tournament starts and before it gets really busy. But I'm sure I'll get myself a hat as well.
In terms of the first place you went on the property, where were you most excited to go to?
I think just trying to soak it all in. We walked the back nine yesterday. I was here 2 weeks ago and we played, and yesterday when we came in, it was very cool. Obviously, you see, I think my favorite part is when you hit your second shot off 11 and you're walking down the hill 11, walking down, watching over 12 and seeing all those, kind of picturing all the iconic shots that's been hit, and that's what I really love about this place, and that's what I really love about being here.
Brentley?
Was 2 weeks ago the first time over here to the right?
Sorry.
Was 2 weeks ago the first time you had played here ever, or?
It was my second time. We went my freshman year of college. We took a team trip. We had 2 donors took us out. It was right before COVID hit, a couple of weeks prior. So we had a great weekend. We got to play the golf course, and yeah, it was really cool.
And then who have you leaned on the most in terms of trying to learn this golf course for your debut?
My caddy, Joe. Joe's been around here for however long he's been here for, and he's seen the place, and he's been a very valuable tool for me, and he's helped me a ton with not only once we got here, but also certain shots that you can work on when you're home. Make sure that you come prepared for certain things that might show up during the tournament round. But he's seen it all, and I trust him with everything I have.
Brody?
Things have gone so steadily pretty well for you so far in your first year, and you generally seem so even-keeled. What are you kind of like when things aren't going well or when you're having a really bad round? How would you describe yourself?
I don't get very angry. I get more frustrated and disappointed with myself. I don't toss clubs. I don't get all these anger tantrums. So I get more, disappointed, frustrated with myself. Can't really figure it out, and sometimes it holds me back a little bit, and I'm working on it. But hopefully, because you're not always going to play perfect golf. It's not always going to be, great all the time. So all I try to do is, keep my emotions intact and make sure that it doesn't happen too often, at least.
Is there a time in your career, whether it was younger or recently, that like failed's maybe not the right word, but you really kind of frustrated yourself or didn't do what you wanted?
I think it happens almost every round you play at some point, whether it's a shot or a stretch where you're not playing as good as you wanted to, and that's what golf is about. I think it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty all the time, but if you can somehow scrape it around and not get too high, not get too low, I think that's my take on it, and that's how I try to do it. But I guess there's no right or wrong answer to that.
James, in the back.
Ludvig, we've just heard from Tiger and Rory, and both of them spoke at length about sort of the benefit of learning this golf course and knowing your way around. I'm wondering, what have you learned, and what do you still need to learn?
I think there's a lot left for me to learn, but once again, I'll trust Joe, my caddy. I'll trust him in terms of the preparation, in terms of course management, because he's seen it and he's been there for a long time, and I think that's what I have to do. Obviously, the golf course is very tricky. You got to know your spots, you know your misses. You have to play very good golf and hit the shots, but hopefully we'll use these couple of practice days ahead of us and make sure that come Thursday we'll know a little bit more now, or know a little bit more than I do now.
Gentleman here in the blue.
Ludvig, you closed your collegiate career out last year by winning the Haskins Award. I'm just curious, can you talk to perhaps the foundation that was built for you and through Texas Tech, and how you believe that's helped you with your start to your professional career?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think what I was able to do in college definitely helped me do this, because it made me realize that college is great for many reasons. It teaches you a lot of things, not only maturing and growing up and taking care of your own stuff and not have your mom tap your shoulder when you do laundry and do your homework and those things. So I think that taught me a lot, obviously moving away across the world as well. So, but on the golf course too, the college golf is great. The quality is really good. And if you can play good college golf, most likely you'll be able to play good professional golf as well. So I think that's what I've learned over these last, I guess, almost year since I turned professional. And I think that's an encouraging part for the amateurs that are in the amateur game right now and in college, because the line is quite thin, to be honest. But obviously I owe a lot to Texas Tech and the program and the opportunity that I got from them.
Tom.
Hi, Ludvig. Can you tell us about how the Masters is thought about or viewed in your home country of Sweden?
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. I think the Masters is always a special week and a special tournament. And I think one of the reasons is because it's starting to feel like spring back home, and golf is kind of coming around the corner after a long winter. Most likely we've had some snow and we've had some cold days, but now the Masters is kind of kick-starting in April, and we can, the golf courses are opening and we can go play again. And I think that's what I really enjoyed. And I remember watching the Masters when I was younger, and you would always be so excited to go play golf after you've watched it. And, I still have that feeling to this day, and hopefully I'll never really lose that, I think.
Ian.
Ludvig, obviously it's your major debut as well as your Masters debut. So could you just sort of talk a little bit about that vibe, obviously at a time when the majors are the only time when everybody comes together? It's not as though you had everybody at the Players' Championship last month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously a major is a little bit different, whether you like it or not. It's a bigger tournament. There's a little bit of a different vibe to it, and I'm just right now experiencing it for the first time. And like I touched on before too, I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with feeling all the nerves and being okay with it being a little bit different to a normal tournament. But obviously, it's cool to see all the best players in the world together. I think that's what we all want ultimately. But it's a pleasure to be here.
In the back, Jordan.
Ever since you turned professional, it feels like your world kind of accelerated, contending week to week, winning in Switzerland, winning in Sea Island, the Ryder Cup. I mean, how are you able to manage, the day-to-day exhaustion, kind of get through that, and how does that contribute to a week like this?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think my life on the golf course has changed a lot over the last couple of months, but my life hasn't changed a ton off the golf course, which I think is really important. My personality is the same. I don't try to do anything different from what I did last year, and I think it's very important for me to stay doing that, doing those things. But obviously, it's really cool to now be able to play these tournaments and being in the situation that I am. It's very cool.
And since you turned professional, your chipping has really improved. Can you talk about what's gone into that?
My what? Sorry.
Your chipping.
My short game has gotten a lot better. I started working with Peter Hansen a lot more in terms of my short game, and obviously Peter, he's played a lot of good golf over his career, and his short game is still really good. I remember we worked a little bit at Players, and he was trying to show me this shot, and he just steps up and he makes it. So that's the kind of teacher he is, and I'm learning a lot from him.
Gary.
Ludvig, you've been asked or told over the last 9 months that this is your first of a lot of stuff. You're going to get to a point where you're not going to hear that anymore. Are you consciously aware of all this stuff being your first, or are you just adapting to wherever you're going?
I mean, you're very right. I've had a lot of firsts over the last couple of months, and once again, I'm trying to embrace it. I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not trying to fight it. I think that's one of the key things. And I mean, I remember back in last year when we played in Rome, that was a big first as well, and that was very nerve-wracking, but it was also a very cool experience and something that taught me a lot that week. And I think, a lot of those experiences that I'll have in the next couple of months will be very similar. And I think I'm just trying to learn from it, try to have fun, and whether you like it or not, it is going to be different, but it's also just golf, and it's just me and my 14 clubs, I guess.
Adam.
Of the 4 majors, which was the one that when you're a kid growing up, trying to hold putt, pretending, thinking it's to win a major, which was the one that you really always wanted to win?
It was the Masters, definitely.
Why so?
I think one of the reasons was what I talked about before, and because it's the first tournament, the first major of the year, and spring is kind of around the corner back home, and we were so excited to play golf, and that was obviously Augusta is the most special place in golf as well. So I think all those things coming together just wants you to play good golf here, and wants you to be a part of the Masters.
Alice.
Sorry, could I ask one more? Sure. Do they sell pimento cheese in Sweden?
I'm not even sure. I don't know. I don't think so.
Have you had a sandwich yet?
What's that?
Have you had one of the sandwiches?
I haven't. I'm sure I'll have one later this week at some point. Yeah.
Alex.
You talk about being motivated as a kid to play the Masters. What's your earliest childhood memory of watching the Masters, and what about? I'm sure you remember Peter's nice performance here as well.
I was going to say the one year that I definitely remember watching a lot of it was when Peter was, I think it was 2012, when he was playing in the final group. And I mean, obviously I didn't know him at the time, and it's pretty cool that I've gotten to know him quite well over the last couple of years, and he's been telling me stories. And that was a year when Bubba hit it from the trees, I think. So I remember that year watching it quite intense when he was in the final group, and but I've watched it a ton since as well.
Tom, do you?
You spoke a little bit about the feelings at the Ryder Cup. Can you compare the nerves going into that and this week? Obviously, such a different environment, team sport there, but the crowd's huge. Everything's so noisy compared with this.
Yeah, it's a obviously you still have the nerves, but it's a different dynamic to it. I feel like now I'm still only playing for myself and me and my team, whereas in Rome you play for so much more, and you play for your country, your continent, and your teammates, and it's just a different dynamic to it. But this week is really special as well, and I try to have fun. I try to embrace it and see where that takes us.
Joy.
Ludwig, one of the stats that is thrown around a lot at the Masters is the fact that none of the first-timers have won since 1979 when Fuzzy did it. Do you pay any attention to stats like that?
I actually didn't know that stat up until just now, so I guess not. But yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to the difficulty of the golf course and the difficulty of some of the things that you might get thrown at you in the tournament. But I can't really do a whole lot about that.
Brent Langton.
What were some of the shots that Joe was challenging you to hit kind of coming into this week? And then what was the shot that Peter did that you couldn't do?
Well, I think a few, obviously, the things that I've been working on quite a lot is the uneven lies that you get here. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of ball below your feet, ball above your feet, all those sort of things, and trying to keep it on the correct sides. So I think we did a lot of those things. And then Peter's just helped me a lot with short game in general and try to get a more deeper understanding of what happens when you do this, what happens when you do that. And because it's very, very logical. And I think with his help, I've just become more eager to learn about it, I think. And you know, it's fun to hit nice bunker shots. It's fun to hit flop shots and those things. So I think he's just been an all-around great teacher in short game.
Eric?
Kan du berätta om matchen som du och Peter hade där? Han hävdar att du var till och med beredd att ge honom slag och sådär.
Ja, vi spelade match här för några veckor sedan när vi kom ut. Vi spelade på måndagen tror jag, så vi spelade en match och det var ganska knackig golf egentligen generellt, men jag tyckte ändå det var en riktigt häftig upplevelse att få dela den med Peter eftersom han inte var tillbaka. Jag tror det var första gången han var här på 10 år tror jag, så att få kunna ge det till honom var väldigt kul för mig i alla fall. Och sen så, jag tror jag slog honom på 17, så det var kanske tur att jag gjorde det och inte lät han vinna för stort i alla fall.
Var det något speciellt du plockar upp, om man säger, från hans erfarenhet när ni var ute här?
Jag tror det är mycket olika slag, olika närspelslag. Var är det enklast att missa? Vissa chippar är enklare, vissa puttar är enklare. Och det är egentligen så man försöker spela den här banan och lägga sig på rätt sida hela tiden. Och banan vill ju att du ska forcera och ta vissa beslut som kanske är lite onödiga eller lite väl aggressiva. Så att jag tror man får hålla sig lugn i båten och försöka slå rätt slag vid rätt tillfälle och sen så putta och chippa så vad man kan, tror jag.
Tack. Casey?
Ludvig, when you came here with your college team prior to COVID, were there any holes that surprised you the most that maybe watching on TV they surprised you in terms of scale or difficulty or anything like that?
I think one thing that stood out to me was how much above the ball above your feet on 13. That second shot where you just hit your tee ball around the corner. I didn't realize how much above your feet that was going to be, but I think that would be the one that stands out to me.
Sean, do you still have a question?
Yeah, I imagine you're the only person in the room who was here 2 weeks ago. So what changes about the golf course in 2 weeks' time?
It's obviously gotten a little bit firmer, a little bit. I think when we played it was quite cold as well, so it was played quite long. And I remember number one was into the wind, so I had a pretty long club in. But yeah, it's gotten a little bit firmer. It was a little bit softer back a couple of weeks ago, and I would assume it's just going to get a little bit firmer every day.
Maybe just a couple more questions. Daniel?
You mentioned Peter Hansen being kind of a mentor to you. I'm wondering, do you have any relationship with Henrik Stenson?
No, not really. We text every now and then, but I don't really have a relationship with him.
Was he someone that you looked up to growing up?
What's that?
Was he someone that you looked up to growing up?
Yeah, he was the main guy in Sweden when I grew up. Obviously, he put with all of his accolades and the wins that he had, he is still the main guy in Sweden. When he won the major championship, he won the Open, and that almost should be a national holiday in Sweden, I think.
Adam, did you?
Asked any players to do practice rounds or plan to for tomorrow?
We'll see. I think yesterday we just chipped and putted. It was just me and my caddy. Today we might have a game, and then tomorrow I don't really know at this time.
Will you R3, and do you have a family member or loved one who's gonna?
I don't really have any plans for that yet. We'll see where that takes us. Yeah, we'll see.
Great. Last question, Jordan.
Just speaking to the growth you've had over the past year, when you think about yourself as an amateur golfer, how do you think you would have handled playing a competitive round at Augusta National?
I think ball striking wise, I would have been fine. I think, but I think in terms of the course management, I would have a lot to learn. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've gotten better at, I'd say, over the last couple of years. It's just knowing your misses a little bit better, not get too high on hitting good shots and not get too low on hitting bad shots. And I think just knowing your ways around the golf course gets more important as tougher as it gets. And I would say, you know, missing on the right sides and those kind of things I've gotten a lot better at.
Well, thank you, Ludvig. All the best this week.
Thank you.